All right, guys, how's it going? So we're going to be talking about Anthony Gordon in this video. If you attend any of my live streams, I usually hold them like Monday to Friday, 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock UK time. But this week's a little bit different because my chick's here visiting at the moment from England. But if you've been coming to any of those streams, or you've had conversation with me elsewhere over the last few weeks since the Anthony Gordon stuff first emerged, you would know that my opinion has always been that there could still be a possibility of doing a deal for Anthony Gordon, but my feeling, my hunch, not based on anything, or anyone saying anything to me, was that if it was going to happen, it would probably be right at the death of the window, like the last 2 or 3 days of the window or something like that. But there was other things that I also expressed regarding this, and one would be maybe the situation concerning Luis Diaz and Barcelona. Diaz obviously wants to go to Barcelona, and Barcelona have previously expressed an interest in him. But Barcelona haven't had the best of finances, although these clubs out in La Liga do tend to find the money when they need to. And my hunch, or my feeling, my gut feeling was that Barca maybe felt he was a bit overpriced, and that's why we never saw any progress on that at the, up until now at the present time. There's also Nico Williams that Barcelona are interested in, and me being here in Spain, I have the added fortune, if you like, that or the added benefit of being able to see certain news reports on TV, football magazines. When I go for a breakfast in the morning, just around the corner from me, all the football Spanish dailies are there, and I scour them every day for Liverpool stuff, just, for obvious reasons. I can't read Spanish fluently, I'm not perfect, but if I pick a newspaper up, probably 70% of a news article I can understand. And then obviously I can, use the translator, or if one of my Spanish friends there, or even one of the girls that works in the restaurant, I say, what does that say? Because their English is great. So basically I keep an eye on things. And the Spanish media were bigging Luis Diaz up. Then it went quiet. Then Nico Williams had the great Euros. And, the vibe from here has been that it would either be Nico Williams or Luis Diaz, but and there was pros and cons, age, cost, things like that between the two players. But at the moment, it sounds like they're more interested in Nico Williams. So the reason I mention this is because there's part of me that thinks, would Liverpool want to spend that much money on Anthony Gordon if Luis Diaz is still at the club? So that's just one thing that's been on my mind. The other thing is that although I've said and maintained throughout that I could still see something happening with Gordon, I also said that I didn't think Liverpool would be pushing, like trying to really make it happen. Because if you're really keen and if you're really pushing, then that affects the valuation, because the club, the holding club, the selling club, knows that you're desperate and you want, so you'll pay what we want. Do you know what I mean? So I always thought that for it to happen, Newcastle would maybe have to pick up the phone. And that would probably be because the player was trying to force a deal. Look, I want to go. I would like to go and play for Liverpool. And that could be what seals it, I think, is the attitude of the player. And, like I say, I've maintained this throughout. I don't need the reports yesterday or whatever came out yesterday about Anthony Gordon to, suddenly have that opinion. If you follow my live streams, I've been saying this for weeks. And I just thought that, maybe at the end of the window, we might see something on that front. And if you think about it, it could kind of explain why Liverpool have been very quiet in the market and maybe haven't followed through on some, what you would call smaller deals. And by smaller deals, I mean like smaller sums of money. Because it makes me wonder if they're thinking, if let's make him a primary target, right? Then that's going to be a sizable chunk of the, imaginary transfer kitty, or all of it, depending on player sales and things. So, it could be a case that Liverpool are like, we need to see what's going to happen here before we follow up on X, Y, Z. Do you know what I mean? So it does explain maybe a little bit why Liverpool have been holding off on the market, diving into the market. The stance in Newcastle, I always find that when a player from another Premier League club, even an overseas club, is linked with Liverpool, you obviously see all the main, the national media outlets, television stations, radio, they've all got an opinion about potential transfer. But what I do is I try to focus on the local media. So like the local media up in Newcastle, for example, because these tend to be the people that are more connected to the club. Although you've got to be careful, because with Liverpool now, Liverpool Echo obviously used to be amazing, and now isn't. It's owned by Reach PLC now, and all they're interested in is clickbaiting you, etc., etc. So you would still listen to what the Liverpool Echo got to say, but nothing like you would back in the day, like when KopTalk started in the 1990s. Do you know what I mean? You followed it religiously, and that was who you looked for. So with Newcastle, you look for, like, say, the Chronicle or something like that, and see what they've got to say. But again, you've got to be careful with the different regional outlets to work out, you know, if these people are really still close to the club, or whether they're just, you know, clickbaiting and no more switched on than some numpty on Twitter. So basically, I was looking at the Chronicle. There is no desire from Newcastle's side to let such a key member of Howe's setup leave. Excuse me, just had a cup of tea. And the Newcastle manager said last month, which sounds a long time ago, but it was the 1st of August, right? He's such an important player for us. We didn't want to lose anybody. Why would we want to lose our best players? We fought really hard to make the right decisions. In those last few weeks, it was very, very difficult. He's an integral part of what we're doing. So, because obviously they're the financial pressures at the time, but they're now in a more stronger position. The player's currently away on an extended break, and he won't link up until Newcastle have concluded a trip to Japan. Now, this is the important bit, guys. As it stands, right? As it stands, the player has not asked to leave, and Howe is confident his head will not have been turned by interest from a Premier League giant. But the newspaper here, the journalist here is saying as it stands, which obviously means that things can change, all right? And for a journalist to say as it stands, just gives me the feeling, the impression that whoever is saying this from Newcastle to the journalist also know things can change. We all know things can change, right? But it's not an emphatic, no, it's not going anywhere. It's just as it stands, right? I'm probably not explaining it very well, but when I see a journalist write certain things, they have to have an opinion to write that, and someone had to say it to them. And listen again, the next paragraph. If that stance, that current stance, that vibe, holds, if that stance holds, and Gordon does not express a firm desire to depart St James's Park, it is difficult to see Newcastle sanctioning an exit in the next few weeks. Should things change from the player's perspective, you suspect Liverpool will move to test the Magpies' resolve once again. So this is a very, very detailed article, but I think those are probably two of the most important sentences or paragraphs. It's hard to work out because there's fucking adverts scattered everywhere in between. It seems to me that the article is basically saying, you know, as things stand, things are like, you know, Newcastle in a stronger position. As long as the player doesn't express that willingness to go to Liverpool, then they'll probably keep him. So my message to you would be, if you want this to happen, then you need to start thinking, well, I hope the player just goes in. Wouldn't ask for a transfer request. A player doesn't do that, right? That's exceptionally rare situations, but can indicate, you know, I'm up for this move. Like, can we make it happen? Do you know what I mean? You don't ask for a transfer request because you're forfeiting your right to like a payoff, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, well, you asked to leave, so do you know what I mean? Versus we're selling you to whoever. Well, I didn't want to go, so then they've got to compensate you. You know what I'm saying? And I thought this was interesting as well. The news of Anfield Chiefs eyeing a deal for Gordon as a potential summer target arrived just a few hours after it emerged Joe Gomez was ready to seek a new challenge away from Liverpool. And this is a centre-back, it says, who was previously caught the eye of Newcastle chief. An extra layer of intrigue has been added to the situation. Now, I'm not going to go over the rest of the article because it's just basically saying how, you know, great Gordon is and what his qualities, as Rafa Benitez would say, for sure, what his qualities are. All right. Oh yes. So they're talking about Joe Gomez wanting a new challenge elsewhere. I did a video today. If you've watched this video to this point, you need to go back and watch the Joe Gomez video, which is probably the upload before this one, because I've had information dating back from mid-July from someone that's close to the player and his family, that's categorically stated that the player is aware or he's been informed that he could be sold this summer if money came in, but he doesn't want to leave. He wants to be at Liverpool. That's basically it. Now, you could argue, couldn't you? Well, he doesn't have to leave. He can just dig in. It's very difficult, I think. If a club doesn't want you, you know, like mentally, right, they don't want me, so every time you're turning out, they don't want me, that means that people haven't got faith in me. You know, will my playing time be restricted? So if a club wants rid of you, you're probably going to have to go, do you know what I mean? But I like the way that the Newcastle media are spinning it into that the player's looking for a new challenge elsewhere, and Newcastle will be a good challenge, you know. So anyway, so Anthony Gordon, my opinion hasn't changed right from day one when he was linked with us, when all that stuff came out. My opinion hasn't changed. I've always thought that there was still a possibility of doing it, but I thought it would happen late in the window, if at all. But there was also the cautionary, you know, does the Luis Diaz situation affect things, you know, and stuff like that. So, and the price, it's that simple. But I think the key to this one, guys, could be when Gordon returns, is he going to go in and say, I'm happy here, or is he going to say, I really want this move? So that's it. Yeah, I think I'd just be repeating it if I was to go over it anymore with you, to be honest. So, you know, listen, the opinion seems very split amongst Liverpool supporters. A lot of Liverpool supporters, I've seen them say they don't see anything special about him. I've seen other players say he's the best thing since sliced bread. But I would agree with it, the valuation. Some of the fees being quoted for this player are way excessive for me. And I think that's a big factor why Newcastle would need to lower that to make it happen, or Liverpool use their heads and squeeze a bit more out of them for another player that's above valuation, if that makes sense. It can help Liverpool that way. So I definitely don't think the Anthony Gordon stuff is dead. My prediction would be that the deal happens if Gordon expresses his intention to sign for Liverpool. Yes, I want to immediately follow that up with, but the price will have to come down for Liverpool to deal with it. I just think Liverpool really want him. But I do think that the player holds the cards with this one. I really do, guys. Because sometimes players are just like, you know, they sit back and they'll let the clubs get on with it. Right, what's happening? I'll speak to me. Do you know what I mean? I just think with this one, it's the player. And if he wants to move to Liverpool, then I think he gets it. But that's just a personal opinion, all right? So I will leave that with you. Okay, guys? If you appreciate this video, please, you know, thumbs up the video. If you have an opinion on this, which I'm sure you will, about anything I've said in this video, please leave a comment for me, and I will look at those today. And if you want to buy me a beer or a coffee, hit the super thanks button. It's the love heart under the video. And I will give you a shout out and acknowledgement in tomorrow morning's morning briefing. Okay, so we might do a live stream today. Look out for that. It's only approaching 9 AM here, 8 AM in the UK, so it's nice and early. And that's it. So I'm going to be working this morning. I'm going to take my girl out this afternoon. And yeah, we'll see if there's anything else we can talk about. All right, guys, I really am looking forward to some feedback on this one. So yeah, all right, guys, take care and thanks for watching.